Excuse the stuttering and whatever extra foolishness I might do up here. Anyhow. All right, serious time. Hello, everyone. Oh, by the way, I will be reading because Lord knows I'm too busy to try to remember everything on these 5 pages. Anyhow, back to now. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Scale to Success Third Annual Networking Seminar. I am happy to be here, and I'm also happy to see all of you here. My name is Kai Storm. I'm author of Alani's Bigger Hustle, Alani's Hustle Gets Bigger, and the upcoming erotica king called You Just Don't Know. I'm here to tell you about my publishing journey. Writing has been my passion ever since I was 11 years old. And it was kicked off when I bought my first hip-hop record. Yes, I said record. This was back in the days of records and tapes, not CDs and MP3s, but, you know, LPs, spin, you know how that goes. And I remember buying my first record and looking at the back of the label, trying to get the address to handwrite a rhyme and send it off to them, thinking that all I had to do was just send them off a rhyme and I would just become a big star. And that basically kicked off the writing gene in my head. I thought I was a great writer all that time. I thought I was doing the flyest rhymes up until I wrote a rhyme for my best friend. And she showed it to everyone in class, and everyone in class told her that it was the corniest thing they ever heard in their life. So since then, I decided internally not to share my writing with anyone, and it was like that for a long time. Over the years, I continued to write just to express myself, to entertain myself, to record different events in my life, to just get things out at any point in time I wanted to. And it felt good, and my pen and my paper would never judge me. Like the only people that would see what I was writing was me, so therefore I was always agreeing with me, so it always flowed the way I wanted to flow. And as I got older, I decided to write a love story loosely based on my own love life. I sent it out to publishing companies, and I also gave a couple of copies to my friends, hoping that, you know, this would kick off everything for me. Now, the publishing company sent me a rejection letter, but my friends liked what I wrote. And one of my friends recommended me to a woman who was starting her publishing company. I naturally wanted to send my work to her, but at the same time I said, should I send her the love story or should I send her something brand new? And that's when I decided to send her A Bigger Hustle, Alani's Story, which was the original title of my first book. This particular story was created when I was 12 years old. Living in Brooklyn, I just moved to Brooklyn, so I didn't have any friends. I was always sitting on the front stoop, staring at people, and as I would stare at people, I would create a fantasy in my head based on what I saw. And that fantasy just kind of stayed in my head. It grew up with me until I actually decided to write it. Like, the characters lay dormant in my head until I gave them life. And once I gave them life, they just went to another level. And my publishing, pull back. I'm a little nervous.
Take your time, sister.
Anyway. The thing is, with A Bigger Hustle, Alani's Story, I never actually wrote the whole book when I sent it out to a publishing company. The only thing that lived in my head was the first 3 chapters. After I wrote the first 3 chapters is when I decided to write the rest of the story to see what I would do with it or how far I would go with it. And after other people read it and liked it and gave me feedback on it is when I decided to write the sequel. And it gave me encouragement to continue to write, continue to mark history with my pen, and express myself through my art. My publishing journey, though, was not easy. There were hurdles and obstacles everywhere, and I had to learn to overcome them. The first hurdle was actually getting Alani's story published because, like I said before, I first introduced the story to this woman who was starting her publishing company in 2008. And when she read the first 3 chapters, she loved it, and she signed me to a contract right then and there. Because there was so much going on with my life, financially, mentally, physically, I was giving birth to my second child. It was just so much things going on in my life that I couldn't keep up with what was going on with the book. So anytime I would turn to this woman and ask her about, what's going on with the book, where are we at, she would give me whatever kind of story, and I would believe her automatically because I was under the impression that I was signed to a company and I'm going to publish a book and everything would be fine. The only piece of advice that this woman gave me after my life settled and I was ready to actually put full force into the book was she told me to join Facebook. When I joined Facebook, Facebook automatically attached me to a lot of other authors, published authors that were with companies or authors that were signed to their own companies. And these people automatically gave me advice on where I was supposed to be, how publishing goes, what's the direction a book is supposed to take, how long a published book takes to come out. And when I added up all the information that they gave me was more than this woman gave me as my publisher. So it clearly told me that I was signed to a bad contract and this woman had no intention of putting out my book. Thank God for me that when I signed the contract in 2008, it had a clause in it that said that if the book is not out within 2 years, the contract is dead. And by the time my life slowed down and I was able to put any kind of effort into the book, it was the end of 2010. So the contract was dead and there was no reason to talk to this woman. Through my Facebook Connects, I was able to connect with other good publishing companies, real publishing companies that would put out my book. The company I'm with now is 21st Street Urban Editing and Publishing. When I contacted them, within a week, they contacted me and they were telling me that we could put out a book within 6 months. What do you want to do? And of course, I was like, I want to go with whatever you want to do. Let's do it. And I signed my contract in February 2011. My book was on Kindle by April, and by June, I had a published novel. That was my first novel, and
give it up, y'all. Give it up. I got the yes, yes.
Thank you. And I was so happy, so elated. I couldn't even understand how I waited 2 years with this person when I could have been signed to a real company that actually produced a book within 6 months. But at the same time, when I look back at the experience, I tell myself that I had to go through that experience in order to understand what it takes to put a published book out. When I meet up-and-coming authors, I make sure the first thing I tell them is that story and how important it is to research. Every aspect of a book needs to be researched, from manuscript to published novel to beyond. You have to research everything because there's always situations where you could get caught up in something and by the time you realize that it was a waste of your time, you've done signed contracts and spent money, and you never want to do that. One of the things I discovered in the importance of research is that after my first book was out, I went on Google and decided to Google myself. Now, of course, that sounds like, you're all up, you're conceited about yourself, but it was so important to Google myself because you never know what's out there about you. This one particular time I Googled myself, I saw a whole bunch of links of my first book, but it was actually listed under the original name. And when I clicked on the link, it had the previous publishing company as the owner, the copyright, producer, God damn near, and had no mention of me, no mention of my current publishing company, just a link saying that they own the book. And before I got upset and started screaming, I automatically contacted my publishing company, and we got on the phone, got lawyers, and got the links taken down. Contacted Google, to make sure that the links were taken down. True enough, when you clicked on the link, they didn't really lead to anything, like there wasn't a book to be purchased. But the fact that my old name of the book was listed there, and they were listed as owner and God of my product, was just enough information to let me know that they had intentions of stealing my story. They had either intentions of stealing it or just not putting it out at all. Now, of course, after my publishing company contacted them, they denied all knowledge. We didn't know those links were there. Oh, no. We'll take them down right away. That's not what happened. We had to get lawyers. We had to contact Google's legal department. We had to go in all the way to protect my product. And at the end of the day, that is also a process that taught me that everything, from the minute you attempt to write a book, to the minute that it's published, to the minute that it's listed in a store or a library, anywhere, everything has to be researched, because at any point in given time, someone could be stealing from you. At any point in given time, somebody could be using your things to fool you, and they're gaining and you're losing. And my writing is my art. Writing has been part of my life all my life. So for anyone to come along and just pick and choose and take and decide that it's ownership, that automatically has to be stopped, shut down. We can't even have that. And it's part of a process. It's definitely a learning process. No matter what industry you're in, it's a learning process in order to be successful. It's a learning process in order to gain credibility and make your name stand out, and just to establish yourself as a real business. Everything is important. Everything that you do is important, and one of the main important facts is research. When I learned that, it gave me such an empowerment that I didn't even know what to do. Now, I Google myself just because, like, I'll go on my phone and Google myself just because at the end of the day, I want to know that everything that's out there that has my name on it is truly mine, and I'm gaining from it. Only I should be gaining from it. Me and my publishing company, of course, but those are the only people that have rights to our work. Another thing that I love about being an author is that I always find myself involved in some kind of opportunity. I always try to be somewhere where something can happen that can be positive for my journey. Take, for instance, meeting Dorina and her daughter Sky. Basically, when they asked me to be on their show, I was just like, of course. I mean, I never turned out any radio show, any party, anything that has it to do with exposure as far as my product and me exposing anything that I'm doing. And after I did the show and she offered the trip to Ohio, I mean, it was just like, is she serious? Really? Sure. I mean, if you're serious, I'll come, no problem. And I honestly have to say that although I was working with her all these months, because we started this whole thing in October, and although I was working with her all through these months and, getting all through the details and making sure everything was getting done, I literally didn't believe it was happening until it got, like, right around this time. Like, right around the beginning of March, it was just like, oh, I'm actually going somewhere, and Scale to Success is taking care of it, and all I have to do is show up with books. What? Oh, get the plane ticket, let's go. I mean, it was just like, it was such an opportunity to be involved with it, and such an opportunity to meet her and her daughter that every time I think about it, I give thanks. I automatically give thanks to God. I give thanks to everyone that's on her team that made it happen, that got me here, that, allowed this whole thing to happen, because without her, I wouldn't be here. Without her daughter, even talking to me about on Facebook, I really wouldn't be here. And I'm always thankful for every opportunity I have. Every time I show up at like a street fair and I'm selling books, and all of a sudden someone wants to interview me, or they tell me about a show that they're doing, they want me to come. It's all about opportunity, and I've learned that every opportunity has to be taken advantage of, every single one of them. And as business people, we all know that opportunities come far in between. So when they come, show up, get it, and definitely give thanks for it. And if you can pass opportunity to others, definitely do that, because that's the only way the gifts will come back. Thank you.